Okay, so let's go ahead and log into our Kali Linux system. Was this the class that I was trying to, I think it's 1 o'clock class. I was trying to update the Zap proxy. So we're playing with Zap proxy, and I was trying to figure out why that it would stop working and not launch the web browser when it was updated. And after looking at launching it from a terminal window instead of launching it through the menu, so I could see error messages on the screen pop up. When I updated the modules and tried to launch the browser, it come to find out that this only works with a specific version of Firefox or Chrome. So when Chrome has released new updates, they update the modules. When you update the modules, you also have to make sure that your web browser is updated to the version. Otherwise, it will no longer launch. And I got to looking that Chrome, when updated the modules, it wanted Chrome version 85. And I checked the system, and Kali Linux was only offering Chrome version 83. So that's why that Chrome wouldn't work. And then looking at Firefox, it had a similar issue with updating. The original unpatched version, I think, was wanting Chrome ESR 68. And then when you updated it, it was wanting a later version of Firefox. And so the tools, deleting the .zap folder, deleting the Zap proxy, reinstalling ZA proxy, and then relaunching it, making sure that we didn't update anything so that it worked with the right browsers that we had on our system was our best option. So that was an FYI. That's why when we update, it no longer works, because it no longer worked with the version of browsers we had on our system. We would have had to go in and figure out which exact version of browser, and then make sure that our system only had that version of the web browser installed. Okay, so we did a heads up display, didn't we? And we cracked into the administrator account, right? So we looked at credit card information. Some of the other stuff, we could go back to the admin portal. Maybe just admin. Yeah, action is equal to admin in the title bar right there. Some of the other stuff we wanted to look at, show the users, I think. Showing all of users, showed all their password hints. It showed a bunch of Zap stuff. Zap tried to do some things that, well, it probably shouldn't have done. It added junk into our system. We may really need to restart a bad store and relook at it, because Zap proxy, when we tried to do some of the scans, did all of this. It was trying to access files on particular operating system versions, and it was actually just creating user accounts. It wasn't actually accessing the files, but that messed some stuff up. So all this stuff in here, here's the admin. That looks like, these all look like MD5s. Remember, we could go to an MD5 decryptor site, copy and paste them. Was it hashes.org or hashes.net? Must have been hashes.org. So if you wanted to try a couple of those, let's see, our database currently contains how many cracked passwords? 3.5 billion. That's a lot. So verify one plain text hash. So if I paste in my paste in the hash and check it. Uh-oh, it failed. I don't think it copied it all. 5E. Does that start with 5? Yeah, it started with 5E. Ends in 69. Interesting, that hash failed. I'm gonna check another one. I'm gonna check out Cracking Station. I'm gonna open up a web browser that the Zap proxy is not utilizing. That may be my issue. I'm going to retry hashes.org on a website that doesn't have Zap proxy causing issues. Nope, that one's still failing. Track station, that one's not. Okay, so that one's broke. MD5 decrypt.net. And they have over 10 billion hashes. That's a little bit of stuff. How is that hash not in the database? I don't understand that. Unless that proxy somehow went and reset all the passwords to these users. That could be the case. I think we need to restart Bad Store. Has anybody checked? Has anybody been able to get any of their hashes to decrypt? Anybody been playing with that? So I'm going to remember this admin here was basically started with E5. No, 5E. 5E. I'm dyslexic. I'm going to reboot my Bad Store. It's going to get rid of my Donald Trump account. I won't be administrator anymore. I'll have to recreate them. Ten 152. That. And 152, okay. That's still the same one. Oh yeah, that's a bug. That's a major flaw. The cookie that Firefox has still has Donald Trump as an administrator into the site. So when I reloaded, it the cookie to the server and says I'm an administrator. I found another hack. You could generate your own cookie, load it up into a browser that said you're an administrator, and you could be administrator of the site without even having an account on the system. New flaw, simply by rebooting and rechecking. Okay, this admin still starts with the 5E. So I'm really confused now why that the decryptor is not having certain hashes, especially something as simple as those should be. Here's the MD5 reverse tool. I just pasted the hash into Google and it found the password was I forgot for the 621. Let's see, for admin, I bet the site's probably got admins up there. So it was md5.gromweb.com. The admin's password is secret. So that site's got a decryptor for it. So all those are weak passwords. If you got a weak password, it can be cracked pretty easily. Also know the flaws. This site's using MD5 for hashing, which they've got huge rainbow tables for. They've also got SHA-1, and a bunch of other hashing algorithms. There's no salt. It's another problem. What's salt? What do they mean by throwing salt into a password?
Putting like extra bits into it?
Yeah, putting like extra bits into it. Throwing extra pieces into it. So throwing a salt, they typically use like a timestamp. When you change your password, it'll take your password and it will include a timestamp, throw it into that, and it'll do a hash on your password and timestamp. So every time that you, or to change the password, even if you change it to the same password, because they added a specific timestamp in there, it would get a different hash every single time. And that was designed to help try to confuse the system. So when you authenticated into a computer, it had to read your timestamp. And when you're typing your password, it had to add the timestamp the last time you changed your password to the password that you typed, and then hash it to verify that it was you. So if anybody was able to steal the hash, they could not, unless they could also steal the timestamp along with it. They couldn't figure out what your password is. Although some of these tools also had like a colon that you could provide it the salt. If it detected that there was a salt stored, sometimes they did store the hash and then a colon and then a salt. What salt went with it, and they've been able to go through and break stuff that way. Takes a lot more processing power, but you could brute force something if you can figure out what the salt is. Then you can start brute forcing. You can run it through and try to create your own hash list based upon the timestamp, and go through all the different words and figure out, if you got a match, and then break somebody's password. So that proxy found lots of issues with the bad store, and by accident, by reloading the page, we found out that the cookie was an issue. So finding out that the cookie is an issue, that also probably means that you can exploit in specific ways where you can go in and you could order stuff and add it to your cart. once you've added something to your cart, I don't know if the Zap proxy, I've not gone that in depth into it. So I can throw a break on, and I can see what was just requested to the server. So when I click place my order, I turned on the break, which means I stopped the browser from sending that frame to Bad Store, and it showed it up on my screen, what's being sent. Here's a cookie with a cart ID. And I'm looking at this cart ID right here, and I see a 5,000 right there. Everybody see that? And that's how much was in my cart. So I'm going to check a few things here. I'm going to URL decode some stuff. So while that's, I'm going to go into the other browser. I've got two web browsers open. I'm going to check the URL decoder. And I'm going to decode and get that into base 64 format. I'm going to check the base 64 decoder. So I've got Donald Trump in there. I don't have anything different from the other time, but I do see the A in there for administrator. This cart ID. Oh, I'm going to check on cart ID if I can click on the right browser here. I'm going to see if that decodes into anything interesting. That decodes into that. And if I base 64 decode it, I don't think that's really base 64. I think that part right there is not part of base 64 encoding, but let's see. Yeah, that gets just some garbledy gook. If I get rid of that portion, does that do anything? Nope. That doesn't do anything. So let me go back into the URL decoder. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go to encode portion. So what if I wanted to make that $50 instead of $5,000? What if I just changed that 50 there to, or the 5,000 to 50, and I re-encode that? How does that look? How is that different from what's in my bad store? Can I see them both? I'm going to copy this out and put it in a notepad. So since cookies are able to be manipulated and exploited, that means there could be an exploit where I can change the price. I've still got 3A1, 3A. So with it being re-encoded, it looks like why don't I just change the price right here in the cart and take off a couple of zeros for how much that this thing is worth, and let me step into the next one. And these are all the frames being sent back and forth. All the post data stuff. That's just what's going to show up on my screen. So I'm going to keep stepping through and let these frames go onto the server. Uh-oh, my cart went back to 5,000. Let me change that again and step into it. Cart contains one item at $50. So you see, modifying the cookie might possibly allow me to order the thing at $50 instead of 5,000. Kind of a bug. I know there's been some sites that you could do that. that you could pull up the cookie. And break the website. Not many sites are that way anymore. People start losing money. That businesses pick up pretty quickly if their site's exploitable to people being able to change in, modify the cookie, and change the prices of the products that they're buying. And that's normally found fairly quickly, and that's remedied very fast. But your company could lose a lot of money if whatever coder's coding out your web platform, if they don't protect from that. So I just wanted to show you some stuff that, you know, if you were a 90s kid, early 2000s kid, what you could do. You could make up your own prices ordering these sites. You just had to know how to do it. Not many people did, but yeah, you could go to sites and order stuff and just change the price and go, yeah, I want to move the decimal place over one. My NVIDIA GTX card would not play Crysis back then, for sure, because it wasn't invented. Instead of costing $400, it now costs $40. You know, you're still paying something, but you're paying $40 for a $400 card or $100 for a $1,000 computer. Just move the decimal place over one. It's all illegal. You wouldn't want to ever do that. And like I said, companies would catch that pretty quickly when they start saying, how the heck are we shipping all this stuff for? And the big thing is, you know, if you could find something that didn't have any cents on the end of it and you just moved the decimal place over one or two, it was still like visually on somebody's screen, they might see like $12.85 instead of $1,285. So they might just think, oh, it's a computer glitch. They may send it to you anyway for the $12. I don't know. You could complain like, well, it said $12 on the site when I bought it. Crossing your fingers, the FBI wouldn't come after you and arrest you for manipulating the e-commerce sites. Okay, let's play a little bit more with scanning into our system, see what else that we've got. I know we've got under attack mode. Let's change it to safe mode. Let's change it to safe mode, and we're not going to be running breaks anymore. I'm going to run for an automatic scan. Save mode is not going to let me standard mode. Standard mode lets me attack, but Bad Store is so bad that it'll just simply crash it. It'll create all those extra user accounts. And so do we want to try to attack a real site? A modern site? All right, let's see what we can get on a modern site. Let's do something that probably doesn't have anything that would actually break the system and outrun it. So cross fingers, we do let's do an https://csnt web.asub.edu. We'll go on just to run standard mode. Well, I went to quick start. I went to automatic attack or automatic scan. I'm going to do Firefox headless. I'm going to click on start attack. So we're going to check on everything that might possibly be bad on my CSNT web interface. I'm going to look under my alerts for now. Some of these I probably should have cleaned out. Because it's picking up every site that I went to, not just the CSNT. I think I found an error in some of my code. Just by running the scan, it pointed something out to me. It pointed out an HTTP address with the 150.208.50.27 number. I'm pretty sure that's the address that this campus used to run before we got connected up to Jonesboro and started using their subnet range. HUBB had its own ISP and our own subnets. And I bet 150, my goodness, that was like 16 years ago. That was a long time ago. I don't remember what the addresses were, but I knew we had a different routing subnet before we moved over to 147 network number. So I'm pretty sure that 152.08. So it points out somewhere in my code, I've got that referenced, and I never did update that. So where did it try to pull that from out of 150? Because I'm referencing it by the URL, the fave icon. There's all the code that was used to build the website. curiosity. Who owns that 150 address? Arkansas Department of Computer Sciences, maybe? ArcNet? Department of Computer Services, Little Rock. Yes, we used to get our internet through the Department of Computer Services instead of through Jonesboro. DIS. You heard of DIS before? We've got students, old students, working there. Yep, Department of Information Services. They're kind of like a hosting firm for like the state governments and local municipalities and stuff that want to utilize their services. The state government wants like the Cabot City Police wants internet and email services. They can, get that from anywhere. They can check out with DIS and see what their pricing is. Because, I mean, they have to pay somebody. I mean, the stuff costs and employees cost money. And sometimes they look at stuff, I don't think they have to bid it out if they decide to go with the state run data center. And sometimes it can be cheaper. Sometimes it may be cheaper for them to go third party, but that's what they're there for. They're a big hosting firm. And 150, like I said, we used to get our internet through them. And I'm just really curious why that spider come up to the 150. Why did it even attempt to hit that address? Here's all the stuff I try to hit and scan. Does it show the 150 anywhere? Yep, so that was scanning against the site that I wasn't afraid that y'all would tear it down. But you can run this thing against any e-commerce site and you'll have the little flags and stuff show up on different sites. So there's a CSNT web. I spidered it. I'm still looking at, there's where I got the favorite icon from, but I don't see anywhere where it's trying to use the 150 address. We got some warnings here. It's not found. So I have nothing in red except I got that one right there where I have a not found was trying to hit 150. Curiosity killed the cat, didn't it? Hey, it's break time. So during break, I'm going to see if I'm going to hunt down that 150 address. I don't know if y'all thought that was interesting or not, but it's just part of scanning. So yeah, the fave icon, several HTML files that were found, particularly degree, loan calculator, and a couple of others that is pointing to 150 address and not to the CSNT web. If I rescan it, that error probably would go away now. Most likely. So let's move on past our little Zap scanner and let's go ahead and close it out. I need to exit out of my actual server so I don't actually break anything worse on it. I probably need to go through my folder and delete old files that are no longer needed. You ever go through and delete old stuff? You're like, yes? Are you sure? Are you lying to me? Yeah, but disk cleanup, I'm not talking about dumping log files and dumping temporary files and stuff. I'm talking about go look at your documents folder and looking at the English paper that you wrote in 5th grade and looking at just how bad you wrote it. Do you delete stuff like that, or are you not keeping it? I may need that for a college assignment and submit it as 5th grade English paperwork. Do you have a junk drawer at your house? Everybody has junk drawers, right? It's like they're just screw that, don't need it for anything, but 50 years from now, it might fit something. So I'm gonna store in this junk drawer. I mean, you're looking at your junk drawer, looking at all this stuff like, all this is just needs to go to the trash, but I'm gonna keep it just in case. Everybody's shaking their head yes. So. Yeah, after what's happened to me and dealing with a hoarder and other junk, I haven't thrown away a ton of stuff. Literally, I've probably burned and bagged up and taken stuff to the trash. Probably about 6,000 pounds or more. Yeah, it's taken over the months, months of work. Can be what? You're gonna come to class, like no, I'm just working really slow. I'm old. So yeah, some people don't keep anything, and then they're like, "Wow, you really needed that," but they still alive. So I mean, maybe they really didn't need it. I don't know. Okay, so let's play at the nmap. Our bad store. Let's nmap our bad store. I don't know what I want to run. I want to unlock nmap dash help just to see what all. I just want to do a standard scan against bad store. So I don't want to list my targets. I want to scan a particular target. Ping scan. Not disable sport scanning. Maybe I just want to do an SS scan. Maybe a connect scan. Yeah, let's do a connect scan. Let's do an ST scan on the system. So let's just nmap dash ST, lower S, uppercase T. And let's just do www.badstore.net. Whoops, that's not spelled wrong. Spell it right. See what output we get. That was quick. What do we have? We have web, which you already knew. We've been browsing the web. We found something else. What do we find besides web? Database. Everybody get MySQL? 3306. That's default port for MySQL to be running on. So most likely, MySQL is running on that port. And we know there was a database running on it because we did SQL injection attack against our search field. Now, none of us are SQL, coding engineers or anything. Know some basic. I know introduction to SQL pretty well, but not just like extreme stuff. Well, let's go see if we can do some more scanning on it. Let's rerun this command. Let's add a dash SV to it, and then the nmap help. I didn't mean to break it like that. And the SV is supposed to show service versioning information. I'm going to rescan with the dash SV. Probably should have done that in the first place, but it'll try to tell us what version of services are running on those ports. So we got a lot more information with the SV added to the ST command. So I know we're running Apache 1.3. That's ancient. I know we're running Microsoft SQL Server, or no, not Microsoft SQL, MySQL 4.1.7 standard. That is also ancient. We could look how to exploit Microsoft SQL 4.1.7 if we wanted. How about let's do Metasploit on it. Metasploit has a lot of cool stuff. There's a bunch of other scanners and stuff out there, but let's start up the Metasploit. MSF. Yeah, if I'm just looking over it with my eyes, it's MSF console. Okay, so I am recording. Start up the Metasploit console. And it might be good to Google Metasploit and MySQL commands. Cool, look what I got introduced with. Metasploit cyber missile command. Some of y'all are old enough to remember Atari games.
Yeah.
Now clear my screen. Okay, yeah, cool. I'm clear my screen. Okay, I'm going to use, I've pulled up a website that shows some scanners and stuff that we can do against the MySQL database. And one of them is, we used Nmap and we found the version. Let's use Metasploit and find the version. So we're going to use auxiliary, and I can use my tab complete. I typed in AUX and use tab complete. Auxiliary scanner, MySQL. And if I hit tab a couple of times, I can see all the different stuff we can do with the MySQL. We can do an authentication bypass, file enumeration, login, version, writable directory, schema dumps and stuff. I'm going to do a version. So that's what I'm going to scan for, or the tool that I'm going to use. I'm going to use the version scanner. With Metasploit, there's a show command, kind of like in Cisco, show options. And it shows all the options that that particular module can do. So we've typed in use, auxiliary, scanner, MySQL, MySQL underscore version. And then we've done a show options command. We can set the remote host. We can set the remote port. The 3306 is the board that Nmap picked up and told us that MySQL is running on. However, this tool has not been told what to scan yet. So we can set our host equal to www.badstore.net. Maybe it's not equal. Maybe it's just space. I thought it was equal. Apparently it's just space. Set our host space www.badstore.net. You can show options again after you type that to verify that that information has been updated. Go ahead and type in run. Also, anything that you run and find, it will store in the database. It should store in the database and know about it. So when we run this scanner, we've got recorded in the Metasploit framework that badstore.net's running at 10.10.152.3306. We've also recorded in that it is running MySQL 4.1.7 standard.
What if it says unknown command?
When you typed in what?
Run. Oh wait, I'm gonna let's see. Nope, I did that right.
So yeah, the set R host has to be in uppercase for it to work.
Which one?
R host. Yeah, R host has to be uppercase. You've got lowercase
Okay.
R host. So it is case sensitive. You have to type in set and then R host in uppercase. It's still going lowercase. Sometimes remote has issues with the cap lock and different stuff. And then space www.badstore.net. One thing I don't see, I think a prompt maybe, yeah, go ahead and hit enter, but type in show options. For some reason, I don't think that you've gone into the scanner. So I think you've missed typing in use. Yeah, use space. It was well, I said auxiliary.
Hey.
It was auxiliary scanner. Yeah, so use your tab key there. No space. Hit the backspace there, and then put a / and type in like SC and hit tab. Not V. C as in Charlie.
What'd you say?
I said it's not V. It's C as in Charlie.
Okay.
And then use your tab key, and it should spell out scanner. You hit tab on the keyboard.
It won't fill it out for me.
Auxiliary spelled wrong. Just backspace to the AUX and use tab, and it'll spell auxiliary correctly for you. Now you have to not arrow, you have to backspace. Delete everything until all you have use AUX. There you go. Now we'll have to delete the scan too. Got an extra. One more. There you go. Now type SC and use tab. And then MY and hit tab. And then V. And then you should be able to hit tab and finish out version. Yep. There you go.
Okay.
Now if you set, after you hit enter, your prompt will change. And then you'll be able to set the R host. And then you'll be able to run. Yeah. And now just type run. There you go.
All right.
Yeah, the tab complete really helps out in certain areas. So Metasploit now is learn about the version. Some of the other things we can check. There's an auxiliary module for login. So now I'm going to type in use auxiliary scanner MySQL. And then when it's got the underscore, I'm going to hit my tab key a couple of times. That way I bring up all the scanners. So one of these is to check for login information. I'm going to look at it. So I'm using auxiliary scanner MySQL login instead of version this time. And when I hit enter, I'll notice my prompt. I'm going to go ahead and clear my screen, but I'll notice my prompt is now scanner MySQL login. And again, you can view all of the options that you can set with this, with show options. And there's quite a few more options you can do with the login. So currently what is set is try blank password to set to true. How fast to try brute forcing? If we're going to run a brute force, it's set at 5, so as fast as possible. Apparently there's a database of credentials that said, do you want to try each user password couple stored in the current database or not? You can set those to true or false. You can also try a password to authenticate against. You can specify a password file containing passwords, 1 per line. So like the RockU text, we could pass that in there. The R host is in here. The R port is still set. Stop on success.
Yeah, I think I must have missed one of the steps too.
So let me look at your screen where you're at right now. Your computer 1.
Yeah, I keep putting that R host in there and getting that big deal.
You're looking at versions, so type in show space options. Oh, now I see what you do. Hit the up arrow key. Take the equal mark out and just leave a space. I found that was the problem. And hit enter. Now you can type run. And now I found version. Now you can type in use auxiliary scanner MySQL. And then instead of version, change version to login. Okay, now show options. I want to try with no password. I don't know if there's a password or not into this thing, but I want to make some changes here. So we got blank password is true. I'm reading down through here. The username it's going to try is root. There is a user password file. There's no user password file. There's no user list that we're feeding it. Try the username as the password for all users. Now that's something. Admin, root maybe. Let's set. Let's first set the R host on this one. I can hit my up arrow key until I got the set R host. So R host is set. I can set user underscore as pass to true. I want to stop on success. I don't want to keep on trying. So I'm gonna set, once I found a user that I can log into, I don't want to continue scanning. I just want to go ahead and start at that point and maybe record that information down and use it for future enumeration of the database or attacking of the database. This would be what probably a hacker would want to do, is stop on success, setting that to true. And if he happens to find an account that has 0 privileges, then he could always go back and rerun the scanner and set that to false to try to find other available users on the system. But typically, if you're going to be an attack person, once you find the very first thing that you want to break into, a success on it, you want to stop and try to break it right then. And this is where we talked about passwords, and the NSA and the Federal Trade Commission has articles on why users should not change their password. The main thing is once an attacker finds your password, they're going to use it right then. It's going to pop up on some screen, go password found, it's going to stop. There's going to be an alert. They're going to attack you right then. And they're going to probably get the attack done within an hour or so. And they're going to leave and never come back. So changing your password every 90 days is not going to solve that problem. The attack's going to be found, and at that point in time, you're going to know, hey, I need to change my password because somebody has been compromised. So that's why they're saying that changing your passwords are not really valid. I'm going to clear my screen and show options again. And I'm just going to examine everything. So I've got the badstore.net is in there. Stop on success is set to true. I'm going to try root. I'm going to try root as the password. I'm not feeding any type of brute force or any type of dictionary files into this yet. So I'm going to hit run and see if it'll find a login. It stopped on success. What did it successfully find? Did you have a success? Can you?
So is that saying that it found an account with the username root and password root?
Yep. Another thing, did you realize you were successful? That's always good to know. Sometimes anyway. So root. And we can use root to log into this MySQL server. That probably means that we have full access to the system. Let's see if this thing is vulnerable to some other options. We've already got the password, but we're experimenting. What all is this system vulnerable to? Maybe not attacking this as a black hat, but maybe as white hat, gray hat person. Does this thing have some other exploits available? It probably does. Let's use another scanner. I'm going to use the up arrow key until I get to my use command again. And I'm going to backspace the login portion. Use my tab a couple of times to look. we have an authentication bypass hash dump, where we can attempt to dump all the user accounts and all of the password hashes out of the system without authenticating them. The very first one up here. So I'm going to use that scanner and check the SQL database just to see if it's by happen chance vulnerable. This is a new scanner, so we have to show options again. I hope with y'all being in Cisco that this is a little bit kind of like show commands and stuff. It's not just totally blank too. So there's not many show options. We have remote host and that's pretty much it. So let's do set. Well, I can use my up arrow key to set my R host and then just simply run again. It's the only thing that looks like I need to, all the other stuff is set. Uh-oh, I don't know if uppercase run works. It doesn't. It's case sensitive. Run, lowercase run. So it's going to check the system and try to dump all of the user accounts and all of the hashes if it's vulnerable. There is always the chance that one of these scanners will be sending code that won't actually fully exploit, that it'll DOS attack the system, meaning it'll crash the daemon in the background, and you'll have to restart the system. But at this point, I want to ask if anybody's getting any output or if it's just sitting there at run.
I got an output. I think I did.
On James?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, you're still on version. You've not changed over to,
Oh, crap.
you're not changed over to the MySQL authentication bypass hash dump.
I thought I did that. Because I have it.
You have to use your up arrow key, and then instead of MySQL version, you'll backspace version and type like AU and hit tab, and it'll complete out the authentication bypass hash dump.
Isn't
Then just hit enter. Uh-oh. Now put your up arrow key again. Backspace to the underscore,
hash.
and then type in AU. Or yeah, AU, not HA. It's authentication and then hash. So if you type in AU, use your tab key. Tab a couple of times. There's there's 2 forward slashes.
Man, I just messed up on everything. Wow.
Yeah, just type the R back in and go over one, then hit backspace. There you go. Now go all the way to the end and hit tab, and it probably hit tab the wrong spot. Yep, there you go. Now go over one to the right and then use tab, and it. There you go. Hit enter. Now you can use your up arrow key until you get to the R host. Reset the R host again. I think you went too far. There it is. Hit enter and then you can tap run. Well, this is taking a while for everybody. I don't know how long that will take. It looks like something that we might just kind of sit on our system. Something else we could have done, we could have increased the number of threads on the system. Right now, one, it's like a single core, single thread. We could have bumped that up to, I think we've got 2 CPUs. We could have bumped the threads up to like 2 or something like that to increase the speed of the system. We also have the possibility that bad store database still seems to be working. It's pulling the stuff out of the database. Oh, there it goes. Fine, finished. Right at the towards the end of class. So I've got an error. That just means that this particular version is not susceptible to the authentication bypass. So that's either a good thing or bad thing. I mean, we know that it's way out of date and it's got a lot of flaws in it, but that's one thing that the exploit doesn't work. I think the authentication bypass works on MySQL version 5.0 something. There's a specific version that you can run this against, but it doesn't go back as far as 4.7. So these are just techniques that penetration testing tools. You can sit down, you can run similar scanners against Microsoft SQL. You can look for Oracle things, and somebody might hire you to go, hey, can you see if my system's secure or not? And you can research all these little scan tools for the different products. Set the host name, maybe even provide credentials to them and run scans against them and see what the output is on that. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.